Hello, Artbeat Studio, Artbeat Creative Community. We are here at Upbeat Artworks, the beautiful art gallery of Artbeat Studio, which is a nonprofit organization that uses art as a tool for mental health and mental wellness. Across the way, we have Studio Central, where you can come in person to do some art, but we have these videos for anyone that either can't make it or want to watch it in our off hours. So before we get started, since we are blessed to be in the gallery, we're going to show off a few of our art prints. No bio today, but we will show off some art and then we'll get right into what we're doing. So I will flip the camera around, show off some of the pieces. We just changed up the display yesterday, in fact. So lots of fresh new pieces, lots of colors on this side, all from different artists. So we have some paintings, this one's darker, abstract, all from recent alumni. Then on this side we have a few sketches. These ones are by L.J. Anderson, who's a very talented artist in our community. You can see just the beautiful detail on all the pieces and the well done proportions. So now that we had a little peek of that, you can find the art, either come into the gallery yourself or you can find it on upbeatartworks.com. So wherever you like to find your art. And so we're going to get into the art making.
Hello everyone, we're here today to make a very special something with more or less of a standard approach, but we are using our original thinking today, hopefully. And the weather is nice, everyone is not complaining at the weather, so it's good.
Yeah, not like the rest of the week when we're freezing.
So what we're making today, it's a combination of collaging, stencil making, and using cutout shapes. We have craft paper, all kind of stuff I brought from home. We wrote some and this is just a regular folder from Dollarama I'm going to use for stencil making. I made some pre-cut ideas right before. These are not my ideas, I'm just following the ideas of other artists.
Everything comes from somewhere.
I'll just show what I have. And maybe ideas by people who are not artists, but drawn and painted by artists. Here it is.
Yeah, so we're doing collaging today, which I think always sounds simple, but is a lot more challenging than people give the credit for. But today we're doing it a little different. Instead of just cutting out specific or like pre-existing images, we're going to make our own stencils to create our own images. So these are some of the ones that Kate made in advance. And then
these are the ideas that were already used,
yes.
So we'll see what we can do with it. We have all kind of craft paper. It can be just regular paper like this, just regular paper.
yes.
Could be all that's here. These are beautiful.
We have lots of design paper from Studio Central, so if you want to use some, you can just come by the studio and use our own if you don't have any yourself. So, shall we get straight into it?
Yeah, let's get straight into it. And I would just choose some paper for myself, but I also think starting with paper makes a little bit more sense because you could think of other ideas.
Yes.
And when there is colored paper, it can just...
Yeah, inspiration. We
Even
almost
a
have
little bit
too much to work
more.
with. Yeah, the thing I like about collaging this way, even though we haven't started yet, is that I have a hard time picking images. So the fact that you can just like create it however you want, but then also still collage and have different textures and work a little bit with it is very nice.
This one's so interesting.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I
you
have.
choose this one.
I didn't
okay.
choose this one. You can choose that
No,
one.
I'm just
I'm
going
just
to
got this one to show it off.
here, and we could use the examples, and I think that would be enough for me.
Yeah.
Use something like this. But let's see.
The hardest part is always choosing.
I can still choose the wintry one.
Yeah. So are you going to use that one as your background?
No, I'm actually going to work on canvas.
Oh yeah, right.
I had a choice. I have Valentine cards,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, is it too early? Is it not too early? But I will just use canvas. So
Never
it
too
might
early.
be not complete canvas today.
Yeah.
So I can just show what I want to layer.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we're not having glue today in front of everyone because that's the process that can go a
Yeah.
weird
And it's
direction.
definitely not because we forgot to get glue. Yeah, just so, you know, just so if anyone was uncertain, it's not because we didn't remember. Do we have Sharpies to draw on this first?
We have Posca markers.
Ooh, even better.
That's better.
Even more exciting.
Okay, aren't you using this paper as a base?
Yes. That.
Okay, so I would just put this aside and I will start making shapes that I'm thinking of. I have, okay, this one I can use it myself or there are just several. Okay, my mom was solving this, it was too hard. So these shapes are not going anywhere, but yes, we do have several good shapes
For
in this book.
inspiration.
And these are just animals. So yeah.
So it's from a puzzle book, but it gives you as well some nice animals to kind of inspire and direct what you might want to do.
So we have 3 different knives. I mean,
Yeah.
this is maybe exact same knife, but I got this is a newer one. It's the older one, and I have this.
Yes.
So we can choose.
I also have scissors
Scissors.
for
I can use scissors as well. Okay, so I'm starting to make something, but I just want to start making a stencil. I don't want to use the whole sheet. I will just cut it in, let's say, in half at first.
Or you can cut it before, or you can cut it after. Either works. I'm not going to have my paper underneath while I'm cutting, because then I'll cut the paper. So.
Okay, so I can actually use paper and just, I'm not using tape. Usually it's recommended for using tape for it, but I will draw something really quickly and make a stencil out of that. And I'm referring to this page, but I can just draw my own thing based on that. A duck.
I need to think of what I want to do. And you don't have to use a stencil to do this. You can also just draw directly on the paper. But what the stencil allows you to do, especially for certain things, is to reuse it. So if you want to make either the same image over and over again, or have the same element in multiple parts of the image, then you can repeat
I'm probably going for symmetry. So what I'm going to make is a piece that is being repeated, so it's not for one shape, it would be used for different shapes. So I'm not sure if I want to make a part of a snowflake and I want to repeat it.
Yeah.
You know, so it could be really hard to make a stencil out of that. So I could just use what's here and cut it out, or I could make my own.
I'm gonna steal the
So I would just go with a very simple idea. So that's the center, and this is the part I want to copy, or I could just cut out half, or I could just cut out one. So let's say I'm creating something of my own that would be made into snowflakes, right? So that's very simple and basic, but I don't know what I want to put in it. So I want to put, I might decide. So, oh, hand raised, right? It's not for that. So I could just make something really random. I could just put all kind of objects inside of it. Candy canes. So what I'm going to make is going to be just a random doodling idea.
I feel like I want to start a little bit with just like some kind of base to give me inspiration for what I'm going to do. I want to use this piece of scrap paper, but it's ripped. You can work with that. Yeah,
So yeah, that could be something really simple that can be filled inside. And then go over close here. So if I don't want to go with it, I could always erase.
Ooh,
And I
nice.
can do it with my nails.
Yes. Or you can use, probably use a little bit of paper towel depending on how stuck on it is.
Nails work.
Yeah.
So if you see my nails black, oh well. Usually it gets easily.
Yeah, so I'm using scissors to cut out my paper to make a base. The knives will be more exact, they will be more exact, but they're also a bit more effort. So scissors are easy and quick, and it's nice for that.
Okay, so my part would be way bigger than this. I can make it big enough so if I want to put it on a canvas, could be here, like it would, I might center it, I might not center it. So I would decide where I want to place it.
We have so many options for paper. Too many options for paper. You can't see what I'm looking for.
Would be something very random at first.
Yeah. I'm just pulling out some that I like. Where are these guys?
Okay, so if I don't like it, I'll take it out. I'll erase it later.
Yes. Yeah, so it's collaging as well. So, you know, we're using design paper. If you want to use magazines, you can. But the nice thing, again, about not, like, we're going to be making our own shapes, so we don't have to worry as much about finding specific images or finding the right shape or figuring out how they all fit together. So we can do whatever we want. I might just use this as my base. I don't even need another. Well, I don't have to stick it together. like to do as well is folding. So you get a nice straight line. You don't have to worry about cutting straight. Let's see if I can work this. Yes. Magic. What do I do?
Okay, so something like this can be very basic,
Yeah.
and then we could just think about how a person can be dressed, or you can just, so if this is just a silhouette, I usually keep it just a silhouette. I do not use anything on top. I'm just cutting out what is here.
Okay.
Alright, I know cutting out can be a little bit intimidating when it's a
Yeah.
silhouette, but I'll go for it, and I will cut it together with paper. I'll try and see how that goes.
And you don't have to worry quite as much if you want to cut the stencil out first, which is another benefit of a stencil instead of just carving straight into your paper.
As long as I do not work with tape, I need to check on that quite often so it didn't move too much.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so it doesn't cut through paper. Oh well. I'll just cut it on the board then.
Sometimes it depends on the knife. They get dull pretty quickly.
And it might be just a difference in what you cut out, because if it's quite a thick, well, as I showed already, it's made out of, it's good that it's thick, because I want to make more than one.
Yes. You can use pretty much anything as a stencil, but as long as it's thick enough to actually outline and trace and feel the shape of. Otherwise, what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to trace it. So, but even if you have thicker cardstock or cardboard, like thin cardboard,
I'm still not sure what can be used, a stencil or a shape that I cut out, but it can be both.
I am going off script because I can't decide what to stencil, so I'm just starting with the collage, and then I will stencil afterwards, put on top of it. So you get the collaging and the stenciling at the same time.
Collaging is not my favorite, as I do not really like working with glue myself. So most of my artwork I planned is not a collage. I mean, it is a collage with a little inclusion, but it won't be all over. So I'm not putting too much paper on it. And also it's because the canvas already is good by itself to me. So it looks, and I do not want to overlap it all over. Overlap is not the right word here.
Overwhelm it.
Overwhelm, maybe, yes. Here, let's see. Okay.
Fun fact about me is I'm a very impatient artist, so I don't do anything super quickly, which I feel like is the opposite of Kate a little bit. You work a lot on the details and make sure everything is nice and clean and over here.
You know, I usually clean it up. Like the stencils I make usually have imperfections, and then when it's transferred onto paper, it adds on to what it is.
I think that's just a fact about my brain isn't working. That's just something that happens when you're creating something with your own two hands instead of, buying it or using a machine. That's part of the benefit.
Machines can make misprints and everything.
That's true.
So there is definitely a difference in machine made and handmade. I don't know where I was going with this. I'm just trying to cut a hand, and it's some kind of hard thing because it never gets the right.
You thought it was hard to draw a hand. Wait until you try to cut one out. Every artist's worst nightmare.
I don't know, what am I missing? I'm missing some kind of a little piece here. Okay, there we go. That's here.
And you can also use either side of the stencil depending on what you're thinking of doing. So you can use both the cutout bit and the leftover white space. What do I want to stencil? I thought creating a base would give me a better idea, but it has not. So what do you usually use your stencils for? Do you have anything, like, besides collage that you usually use them for?
I basically just use a stencil for filling in, mostly, when I don't want to draw all the parts. So in this case, when I make an outline, I could still fill in what I think is there. But in this case, I could, if I want a repetitive pattern, and it's not just one person, it could be a face sometimes that stencil are good for portraits when you want to exactly place it.
Yes.
Instead of, well, I was using both. I was drawing and I
Yeah.
was using stencils for some. So let's say here,
Again, there are also some benefits, even if you're not going to repeat it too much. Just the fact that you can make it before you cut out. If you have like more precious design paper compared to like some cardstock that you want to use as a stencil. And then as well, it's especially good if you want to repeat a shape over and over again with a little bit more precision and save a little time.
okay. So for myself, let's try. So I could use the shape right here, or I could use the stencil. So for me, the preference would be to use the stencil rather than a shape, because it does not make it, well, this part is moving, so it's good by itself. I could paint it and just attach it, or I could go around it, but I need to be more careful with, you know, holding everything. And in this case, I could just use it very simply. So it's just outlining is way easier for me. And I could just return it.
I think you're trying to just do a cat. Just do a cat, I say, as if it's very easy to draw a cat. So looking at my background that I've made, I want it to be somewhat scaled to this imaginary space. But I'm thinking of doing it just a little bigger, just so you can see it better. So cat, start with the ears, and cat face. Even though as a stencil, we're using more of the silhouette, I like as well to kind of draw the whole thing, so you get context instead of just trying to imagine what it is. Give a little tail. Oh, because I'm, once again, lazy. I'm going to use my scissors to cut it out, even though it offers less precision. But
For
also,
me, it's actually easier to cut it with a knife rather than using scissors. And paper is a little bit different, so it can be tricky.
Since mine is a simple shape, I'm just going to use, I'm not going to worry about having the exterior for the stencil to keep it a little cleaner and more manageable. Shape is relatively simple. Like with Kate's, it's a little more complex, so to get all those details, it's nice to have that outline so you can kind of rely on it, versus mine's a very simple blob shape. So I'm not as worried about that. Also, it's too late because I use scissors anyways. Let's see. what's your inspiration for your piece over there?
Inspiration are other artists from Studio Central and artists who are connected to Artbeat.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have any more ideas than just drawing out of my head whatever random it is. So it could be silhouettes that are very random poses, just a like a person standing. So I do not say I put a lot of thinking into my collaging.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's the best part about art, is the fact that you don't have to think too much. Sometimes you can just do what you feel like doing. Okay, let's see if I can make this cat happy. Okay, put this to the side. Pull out my cutting board. And very interesting color cat. So, placing it on the paper, figuring out where I put the knife, and then, well, scissors I find are generally easier when you're cutting out like this. The knife is nice, and the stencil helps. You just get to follow the stencil. This is the moment where I take time to focus. And you should be focused when you're using knives, because they can go bad very fast. Not to bring up a scary story, but when I was younger, in 6th grade in fact, our art teacher decided we were fully, absolutely responsible enough to use X-Acto knives for a project. Luckily, it turned out all right, but I don't recommend giving X-Acto knives to children, especially when you're dealing with a supervision ratio of 1 to 30.
I never liked anything. Okay, the paper just
Gave up on you.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Sometimes art is not our friend.
Let's see. I usually do not even use cutouts. I just make stencils. So this paper is actually really. It has more than one layer. It's thick, and yeah, it's very easy to mess up.
Again, sometimes the knife makes a difference.
Should I actually open a new one and see if that helps?
I have a tendency with my knives to go, oh, I don't need to sharpen it, I'll make do. And then when I finally cave and get a new one, I go, oh my goodness, I should have done this so much earlier. It makes such a big difference using a sharp knife, and it's a lot safer using a sharp knife, which sounds backwards, but because a dull knife is more likely to slip, it's more likely to cut ineffectively. You can see I'm not using the stencil, but I've already done the outline. I'm just cutting out those final little gaps that are keeping it stuck to the paper.
Okay, so what I want to say, it's about people who actually have patience. I never have patience for stuff like that.
Yeah, then you go and
Paper
focus on
is
an art
not-
piece. I think it also depends on what you find your passion in, because you know some people might not have the patience to paint the way you do. Because Kate, if you've seen any of our other lives, you know is a very detailed painter. But
Okay, so I am not a very good collage maker.
it's okay. She's beautiful. She's an
I
amputee.
am not. I think I'd better stick to stencils here and just start making things my way, because collage is definitely really hard. But I will still use paper for easier cutouts.
Yes. See. Let me make more cats. I'm gonna be a little lazy this time, and actually I'm gonna grab a pencil so it's a bit.
It might be a good idea.
So I can draw on it without having to draw on it. So I actually have decided I want to use different paper because this one doesn't contrast enough and the cats get lost in the background. What darker color do we have? Let's see. Ooh, this has some potential. Maybe the Scooby would be nice. So your cats can match your window. Where did I lose my stencil? That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. Oh, it's right in front of my face. Right here.
Alright. What do I do with this?
I'm gonna mass produce some kittens. How many little green cats do we want? That's the question. I'll start with 3, then see how I'm liking the color. Once again, going back to scissors, because I need to practice more with these lives, talking a little bit louder and a little bit more enthusiastic so the mic doesn't mistake my voice for background noise and cancel me out. So every time that you can't hear me, just, you know, scream in the comments. And I will listen. Oh, I cut off my cat's ear. Sometimes even stencils can't save you from yourself. That's okay. Cats sometimes lose their ears. I knew a cat that didn't have ears once. She lived a happy, full life. It's very sweet. My worst cat. That just... It's a Van Gogh cat, you know? One-eared.
Have no choice now.
And then his hopefully two-eared siblings. I swear I'm not intentionally maiming the cats.
Okay, so if I'm cutting out, I'm just cutting out something simpler,
The paper's up there.
and I'll use scissors, and I will just go with the random something. Same one.
Again, this might be more effective with more, or not effective, but more more helpful. What's the word I'm looking for? More helpful if you are using more complex images. So you might look at this cat and go, why do you need a stencil for that? But it saves time because I'm making these cats. There you go. 2 cats of identical posture.
Nice. Managed to make 2 cats.
2 cats and another one, actually 3 cats. I always feel a little bit guilty using the nice paper. It's like, oh
What
no.
we're making.
It's like, oh no. I'm gonna waste
Look at
it.
this. Ah.
That's looking really cool so far.
Something like this. So it's just the most basic thing I could invent possibly.
Yeah.
And then I could use some writing or drawing or outline. So it could be anything simple. What do you want to do with this?
when I collage, I like to cut out a little square around what I'm cutting before I go in for the details, so I'm not fighting with such a large piece of paper. Okay. And another cat. Done. We're almost getting at an hour here. Almost goes by very fast, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. Hi.
All right. So
That's the cutest.
I know I often just draw and recognize someone else's idea, and I know it's not mine.
I don't know how to gain my interest.
All right.
This is so cool. I like this. It makes me think. I don't know what my brain is saying, like 50s, 60s mod, but also like neon, like 80s. So.
Nothing I meant, but it looks like that.
It looks like it. It is very much giving that. It's very cool. I like the base you started with. It's really good.
Well, the base was just a random process at home, and it's not, as you see, I did not finish anything here as I was not sure what I was doing with that. So it could be this. And again,
You could also try doing like a brighter color for that so it matches the bright colors of the background.
I would add more colors. I would just cut out more shapes, which might be random, might be not, and put them somewhere else. So we will photograph what I have at the end.
Yes.
And we'll see.
Yeah. We'll be back next week for more art. See everyone.